It's late in the evening. It's hot. It's Australia. No one can think.
Hello and welcome to Quackcast number 361. I'm Ozone Ocean with the Drunk Duck Quackcast. We're going to be talking about Primordial creations, but we have special guests here. Emma Claire, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Who does the Friday news posts and Constellation Chronicles. And
yeah.
Other comics as well, don't you?
Yeah. I also do, like, sporadically at this stage, puppets and strings as well, which has been going on for donkey's years, and it will get finished, I promise. I'll get there.
Fine piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
We have also Tanserine, Pitface, and Mr. Baines again.
Hello.
Hello.
That's all of us. So we're going to be talking about Primordial Creations, which was Emma's, which was inspired by Emma's news post about the journey that we took when we started webcomics, which was very interesting, and that inspired Pitface to do this whole thread about the Primordial Creations, the early versions of your characters.
I've been laid bare.
You are undone, Pit.
I waited until after Putrid Meat ended to do this shit because there's no coming back from BC Bones. That's why.
Oh, that's going to be the sequel.
Oh.
He's going to rise anew like a phoenix with bone wings. All right.
Damaged. He needs fixed.
Before we get into that,
he needs the fringe over his eyes because they're so gorgeous anime shining eyes.
And you got to build that up as well. Like, you can't just go all out with the beachy eyes. You got to build up the allure and get them interested, and then bam, that's when you bring them out.
That's
and everyone's
right.
like, "My God, I have to."
eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I love it.
And you should also use glitter. In some
Always
way.
glitter. Always glitter.
I'll have it like he just came out of a Chippendales, man.
Oh,
I can't wait for Drunk Duck to put out their own Bishi calendar for the year.
Oh, that's just such a good
it needs
idea.
to happen.
Oh my God.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen.
Oh my God. We should do it. We should do it and actually get more money to get even more cool stuff done on the site.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I like
And
it.
use
That would be a good idea. The Bishi calendar of all the sexy guy characters. That would work.
What we do.
use it, exactly. And Dida will submit her loot gear, sexy
Oh,
bits.
God.
Don't volunteer me.
Could lead to danger. Don't want sexy Nazis. No. Don't want to promote that.
You know, controversy though, it's a very good advertisement apparently.
Oh no. We'll get more into our Primordial creations, but first I have to introduce the featured comic for the week, and that was a feature I did, and it was oh crap, what was it? It was
Fallen World by Epic Save Room.
That's it. Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Take it away, Ozone Ocean with Fallen World. Hello, I'm Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Fallen World. Cassidy is a sleepy wolf who does nothing all day. He never really gets into trouble because he just doesn't do much anyway. All that changes in a blink of an eye when his front door is rudely bashed in and he's attacked by two dogs claiming that he's a murderer. The art here is all full colour and digital, at least the colouring is digital anyway. it's slightly stylized with an American animation look to it. The story is action-adventure and depicts a world ruled by canines. Read it while it's fresh. How weird. This is a comic called Fallen World. It's by Epic Save Room, rated E. It's a good little fun story. The action picks up very, very fast. You just get dumped straight into the story, and you're wondering, how did he become a murderer? Why do they think he's a murderer? And soon the reason is revealed. Well, at least sort of revealed. It's sort of a real mystery. What's happening here? Why is he being accused of murder? And what is his relationship between these two dogs who are after him? These police dogs, or at least they're in that role as police. It's very weird. Seems to be all kinds of strange things happening, sort of supernatural as well. Anyway, it's these are dogs or wolves as well. At least he's a wolf who I wouldn't say anthropomorphic because they don't walk on two legs. They're just dogs who move like dogs, on four legs, but they sort of live and think like humans do in a way. So you'll get used to that. Anyway, have a read of Fallen World by Epic Save Room, rated E. It's good. And that was Ozone Ocean, or me. That was me with Fallen World. So I hope you go and check that comic out. Next up, we have the featured music by Gum Wallace. And this week, Gum Wallace has given us the music to a comic called Wolf Moon. And this is a slow, rich acoustic beginning that lulls you calmly. Then we roar into a rough, electric feast. A veritable tidal wave of sound washes over you and carries you out to sea. So take it away, Gum Wallace with Wolf Moon by Selechia, and it's rated E. So listen to that. And that was Wolf Moon by Sexlexia. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Gum Wallace. All right.
Giant dick.
You realize that we're corrupting everyone. Whoever comes into this.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's how it's pronounced. Okay. So, Primordial Creations. It's interesting. So we came to this idea. Well, Pitt came about from Emma's whole idea about the journey. when you began journey. So I wanted to have that included somewhere into this Quackcast. So we have that. We have the journey from that to Primordial Creations. So how can we make this fit?
Well, I think it just kind of naturally fits. I mean, if you're going to talk about where you came from, that's your starting point of your journey.
And you have to bring in where you began in art as well, because everyone, when you start in webcomics, it starts at this point where you make very interesting drawings and you have very interesting beginnings, and it's just good to see them, good to compare. And
it's true.
I guess other people feel, and people feel better because they know all these people that they might think, oh my god, like the art's amazing, and then they see where they came from. It makes them feel better because they see how it's progressed over time, and that's very important. For people starting out. So you can have your own personal sense of development, and you can see how you've improved, or look back at your early stuff and go, my god, I was so much better then. What's happened?
Yeah, that happens too sometimes. That definitely happens too. There was and then sometimes it's good because that'll kind of kick you to get your ass back in gear if you've been lazy about some things, you know. Your poses become a bit rigid and stuff, and it's like, all right, you know, I need to get back in order. I don't know.
Yeah, or find out what was, find out where the fire was, because often you lose that. Your work becomes more clinical and more stylized and more honed, but you lose the passion. And then you look back at your early stuff and think, yeah, that had that rough, raw passion that was still driving me, and that's where, you know, the life was in my work. So I've got to capture that again, and you can revitalize or, you know, rekindle your artwork again and your passion. So sometimes that can be a good reason to look back on your original stuff,
or even just a matter of picking up a story again, and just like, because you become quite oversaturated and exhausted by your own story, and so you put it down for a while. And then you come back and pick it up and you're like, this was going somewhere and it was interesting. Why did I stop? And then you just inevitably pick it up for the next 6 weeks and then go, oh, that's right. I wrote myself into a corner. Which has happened to me a few times.
Just keep going back to the corner.
That's
like a Roomba or something.
Oh my god, I am puppets and strings is like a rubber constantly stuck in a corner. It's like, I know I was going somewhere, but my early approach to storytelling meant that I was, you know, worked quite organically, never planned anything. I had an idea, never planned it. And then I would get to a point and be like, I totally forgot where I was going with this. And because I never wrote it down. And so I'm like, oh crap, what do I do? What do I do? I'll just take a step back. And then sometimes that step back was like a few weeks. And then sometimes that step back was like a few years.
Wow.
And eventually I will write it down properly and then I will actually finish it. But, you know, I say that every weekend. This weekend is the weekend we get a page.
Oh, well, at least Constellation Chronicles is moving ahead in leaps and bounds, and that's like your supreme pro work now.
Yeah.
So, I think
we last weekend we finally finished laying out the entire story. Like from start to finish, from Act 1 to the end of Act 2, finished laying it all out. Because the person I write with, she's finished this graduate degree, and so we finally had time, and I was like, I'm not liking this, and she's like, well, let's go back to the drawing board. She's very indulgent in my whims when it comes to story. Probably shouldn't be, actually. And we just hashed it all out from like start to finish, and I was like, job well done. That's going to last like 6 weeks, and then I'm going to have a shower idea and be like, let's change the entire thing.
But it serves to reignite that fire, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. it's just constantly like, what can we strip out? What can we make better?
That is a good idea. I found even in drawings, you go along a path and you think, yeah, but it's just not quite working. And rather than trying to fix it or keeping on going, sometimes it's better just to scrap it and start again.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like there was I think you talked about it on the last podcast about artists on Drug Duck that inspired you. And I think Tance mentioned Sarah N, who did Vampire Phantasm, and she's currently doing Daniel, which is amazing. I follow that one. I love her. And her Twitter is excellent too. And I think she redid from memory Vampire Phantasm at least twice, if not 3 times.
Probably 4 or 5.
Yeah, there was a few iterations of that, and I followed everyone and I loved everyone. And then she stopped, which is fair enough. Like sometimes you just lose the passion for it, but I mean it's still available to read, but it was really interesting to just see her go back and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna scrap everything and redo this.
I think to a point at least she has redirected all the stuff that's like from Vampire Phantasm and Jack, because she named it into Jack at some point, into Daniel. That's why she has stopped the other one. I think that she has repackaged the whole concept into this historical fiction, basically.
And something that I've never seen before, 1950s noir, horrifying vampirism. Because she doesn't like sugarcoat vampirism at all. These are like really intense beasts that tear people apart.
Yeah.
And you can
they don't glitter anyone.
It's a good read. Like everything, you could see everything that she's learned over the multiple times that she's done Vampire Phantasm, now being honed, as Tan said, in Daniel. And it's kind of been interesting to watch that progression for years.
Yeah, it really has developed a lot. It's so... Watching other people's developments is a really valuable thing as well, not just watching your own developments. Yeah, watching how things grow and progress and change and develop could really lend you insights. Well, not even lending insights, it's just entertaining and interesting to see and lovely to watch someone improve, basically. I like doing that. Yeah, like you said, all those iterations of Vampire Phantasm as it got better, it was cool.
Yeah, and one of the artists which really inspire me to get through the really bad art stages that even I sometimes run into was the comic artist One, who actually started as a webcomic artist. He's Japanese, and he went on to develop One Punch Man. And
really?
Yeah, he was a webcomic artist. One Punch Man, and his even better series, I reckon, Mob Psycho 100.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh wow,
it's cool. Fantastic. And you go back and look at he did One Punch Man for about a year, and then said to everyone, "I'm going on an indefinite hiatus while I join the real world and do real work," which lasted a year. And he was like, "That's it. Like I really miss doing this. I'm coming back." And people were so happy because they loved the story. Like the art is, and I'm really glad they retained some of that art style in. I feel like they did that more in Mob Psycho 100 than they did One Punch Man, but his really rough style that only comes from webcomics.
Right.
And he was saying that no matter how bad his comic was, he knew that it was bad. Like he knew his art style was bad, but he would concentrate on the characters and stories because that's what people kept coming back for. So it was less about the art and more about the story, and which seems to work really well for him. And as a result, like it became really popular.
Yeah. I love his art style, and the whole thing in his creation with One Punch Man, it's so unique. It's him. It's very individual. It's not what everyone else is doing, which is what makes it stand out so much, because it's not typical.
Yeah, and he said like webcomics was about the only place where he could really experiment with story and experiment with art styles that you wouldn't necessarily be able to commercially if you're getting it, like if you're in a magazine or something, because you're beholden to what will sell, not what you want to explore necessarily. And that's why I think a story like Mob Psycho 100 and One Punch Man is incredible, because he has that time to explore it.
Yeah, it gave him freedom to do it. But yeah. So that's a great example of artist-driven work and sticking to your own guns, isn't it? Sticking to your own style rather than following trends and stuff like that. I would
say that also,
you only have accountability to yourself, really. I mean, you can you want to please your readers and stuff like that, but you don't have it. It's not something that a lot of people are depending on for income or there's no boss or editor over your head that's driving you. It's that's something about webcomics that is actually quite intoxicating, I think, especially with the start of a new project. I love starting new projects.
Oh, there's such a high associated with that.
It is. And just to put something out there, and there's a few projects that I started some years ago that I have lingering on Drunk Duck that I put up like 3 or 4 pages. I'm yeah, this is awesome, and then never went back and touched them again.
Yeah.
But you have the freedom to do that, and I don't think you should be too afraid of doing something like that, of posting something and not going through with it. Because if people really get into it, it might disappoint some people if you don't go through with it. But at the same time, once again, you just have accountability to yourself. And if you personally don't mind just stopping a project and being like, all right, I'm going to be honest, I don't want to do this anymore, or I can't think about what I want to do next, blah, blah, blah. Stop and take a breath and figure out your trajectory, or, it's okay. It's all right. No, the Drunk Duck police aren't going to come and get you, No.
Yeah,
send
this
veins
is not
after
the
you.
funding anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. They will eventually catch you, but
They'll get round to it.
Yeah.
Want their own comics to get to first.
Precisely. Well, the good thing about like a site like Drunk Dark or DeviantArt or whatever is DeviantArt is that your Primordial work is on display
all the
forever, unless
time.
you delete it.
Right.
Oh, God.
Like all the time. It's always there. That's why I never link it.
I think it's cool when people do leave it up, because then you've got this great like online portfolio of your development, and it's good to see.
Well, the first thing I do when I find an artist I really like is dive straight into the scraps, because I'm like, I need to see where you come from. I need to see like maybe when you might have been a bit green, and then see all that practice. And it's just good to make you feel good about it as well. It just at a self-conscious level, because it's like, oh, good, they fucked too at one stage.
They suck. Oh man! Speaking of that, there's this great artist that started out on Drunk Duck at the same time as me. His name was Dave de Keyser, this Dutch guy, and he did. His work was okay, but it was a bit ropey, it was a bit angular, his proportions were pretty sucky, but, he was really enthusiastic about his work, and I liked it because I liked the passion. But he hated his work, and he'd look back at it and he'd think, oh, God, I'm just not proud of it. And so he studied and studied and tried, and he practiced every single day like crazy. And eventually he quit his job at doing whatever he was doing, and he got a job at doing animation, I think. And his work now is just unbelievable. He's just incredible. And to see his progression from where he started out and there, it just blows me away. And I'm thinking, oh God, what? I've just been wasting my life. I'm stuck doing the same stuff I was, years and years ago. And this guy's just shot like to the moon. And that's what happens. But to see that progression was just amazing, because I saw all his work as he'd been doing it, like over the years on Facebook and stuff. And yeah, incredible. So Dave DeKaiser, if you ever see his work, it's really cool. I can't remember what he's working on, but he has worked on some things that have been animated overseas and stuff like that. So yeah, if you work hard enough, you can get a job in the big leagues. Amanda,
and I think...
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, I think that's what a lot of people... and it's such boring advice, but people don't realize when you do draw every day, you improve so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like one... I drew... I think I talked about it in the articles, but I started drawing for quite a while, and just due to life and stuff like that. And I would draw sporadically, but my artwork actually stagnated quite severely for quite a while because I just never practiced it. And then having gone back and doing this project now where I have to draw nearly every day. Looking back now from even the start of issue 1, which we started last year, I think around this time last year, actually, from last year. Yeah, we were working on it for quite a while before we released it. I think we started writing around Christmas in 2016, and then I started drawing it in probably February, March, to try and get most of the issue done before we released. And then of course 5 weeks beforehand, I was like, oh, hang on, this needs to be another 10 pages longer. And then had to write and draw that really quickly. So anyway, yeah, I'm very bad at that. We have a bonus issue on Patreon, and I did all these pages, and I was like, oh yes, this is fantastic. I got it done a week early. And then 5 days out from putting it on Patreon, I was like, oh shit, this is not actually the beginning I was thinking of. I completely missed a whole beginning, and so now I have to draw a beginning in less time. That was not very good planning on my behalf. So I went from what I think is at the beginning of issue 1, probably just starting to pick up my art style, and then to now, and I'm just wow, this is just completely different. My style changed in 12 months, and now I want to redo the entire first one. Just to make it consistent. Yeah.
Oh no, you'll be like Sarah and just do 5 repeats of the same thing over and over and over.
Oh, it is so tempting.
Here it is 10 more times.
No, don't do that.
I promise this is the final one.
Actually, I am always very much against going back to redraw anything. Not just for me, for any artist, because it's a progression that adds to the allure of and the charm of the entire project that is being developed. And of course, this is now comparing to someone that is in the super big league, but if you see Hergé's work, like Tenten in albums like Tenten in Congo and Tenten in America and stuff like that, if you see his work, aside the fact that it is eye-wateringly racist.
Oh my god, it is so racist. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's oh my god.
Very a sign of its time.
Exactly. It is also very crude in terms of design, the way that he was sketching all his characters it looks very premature in a sense. If you compare it to the last albums, it's not racist actually. He has very nice social commentary, something like Tenten de Picaros, for example, which is which
is that was just the time though.
Yeah.
And you can see this in God, get a bit tangential. You can see it in, I was thinking about the other day. I thought about this episode of Thunderbirds. I think it was the first episode of Thunderbirds, the actual one with the puppets. Because we loved it as kids, so we decided to get the DVD. And we watched the first episode. And it's this woman and her husband. The woman's driving the car, and the husband's like, "Oh, I don't know, honey. I think you're driving a bit too fast." And she's like, "I've got this," and then slam straight into a cement pylon in a car park, and the car park is like crashing down around them, and Thunderbirds save them and everything. And no joke, right at the end, it says, "And that's why you shouldn't let a woman drive." And I was like,
"Oh."
No, the answer to that is like the first car accidents were committed by men.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God.
That's
actually in Greece, when we had like on the turn of the century, there was something like 20 cars in the entirety of Athens. So imagine that. They
still managed to have accidents.
Was one of them, the driver was the Prince of Greece, because at the time we had a regency. So it was the Prince of Greece who was speeding in a totally empty road, nothing in it, literally. And he managed to actually run to some other guy.
Oh God, really?
Yeah. And this other guy was something like a park or something like super stupid. So, men don't really have much to say on the matter.
No, it's all the women's fault. It must have been some lady somewhere, Tans.
Oh, of course.
He was thinking of a lady at the time. See? There you are. Yeah.
So back to these comics.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
What about you guys? Primordial arts, because we were talking. Oh, the Bishy stage. Yes, let's talk about the Bishies. So, why do all girls go through? Not all girls, but why do girls often go through a Bishy stage?
Oh, because they want their men to be beautiful and in touch with their feelings, which Bishies both are.
Very feminine men, it turns out.
Yes, they're very effeminate. I think it's just because drawing guys is really hard. So Bishi is kind of between a woman and a man. So it's a nice transitionary phase.
Yeah. It gives you
also don't forget that most guys are creations targeted towards young girls or made by women, and usually they are exactly what women want in a man. So they might be looking sort of effeminate, but they are super manly in behavior. They do all the right things.
Yeah,
they are the total absolute knight in shining armor.
It's completely
and of course,
romanticized.
He looks like a girl.
Yeah.
You could fall in love with a guy like that even if he looked like a potato. So
oh, jeez, that's hilarious. So, did you? All three of you guys, you did Bishy Fellows.
Yes.
I also did commissions when I was younger for Gaia Online, actually, and that was the main thing I drew.
Bishy guys.
Just bishy guys constantly. Oh gosh, there's so many of them.
So what defines a bishy guy? It's the feminine look. It's the kind of really stylized hair,
long hair, don't care, very beautiful. Sparkling eyes that sparkle for days.
Oh.
Usually tall,
very
tall, and
and they inevitably, there's inevitably a shot where they'll be coming out of the shower or coming out of the pool, and they'll be wet and glistening, and the shirt will be attached to them.
Or they would be standing, or they would be standing in the rain in a white shirt.
Yes.
You know where I think it? Yeah.
And they're declaring their love for you, and it's so burning and intense.
Yes, and somewhat depressed, and usually pining after a lady that has just turned him, and he's sitting there in the rain, and he's probably holding an umbrella very inefficiently.
Yes,
it's shocking.
There was,
you know where I think that the bishy thing took root, at least for us. Well, it take root for anyone else but us in our generation. But was the emergence of Clamp, I think. That studio of women, they really brought over the whole bishy thing, and everyone was like,
oh. Yeah, no, I have a discontinued series from Clamp, which is just pretty much all bishies of different varieties, and it's called Legal Drug, and it's just these 4 really cute guys living together, and they allude, like, you could tell it's written by women, total pulp, and I love it, and I still love it. It's one of my favorites. But all the men are beautiful. They all look like they have a semi-crush on each other, which is another thing. They all have like these ambiguous levels of relationships, but you know they've all got dark and brooding pasts at the same time. And
and they have fringes, usually fringes over their face that hides at least one eye.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you know they're getting serious when you flip it to the side and you see both eyes and you're just like dazzled.
And usually they're looking upwards at you with both eyes, so they will be having this very frowny face.
They're staring into your soul, and your soul is screaming back, "Take me!"
I think I grew out of that when my stepbrother he's very tall and lengthy, and he grew his hair out, and he was a walking bishy, and I thought, I'm over this. I'm done with this.
Ruined. Entirely ruined. Thanks, brother. Ruin that one
love
for
you,
me.
dude, but I don't love you that much.
So not that kind of webcomic.
Also, especially in Japanese bishies, the background would have roses or sparkles.
Oh, all the time.
Horrible
artwork. All the time. That's very shocking. It
automatically brings to mind like Tuxedo Mask.
I love his
name in anime.
much.
Tuxedo Mask. Yeah, and he's got the rose.
Oh my god, I loved them. I got into drawing like when, like, I loved Sailor Moon when it first came out, and then it came back again when I was about 10, and that was when I'm like, you know what? Well, I first said to Mum, like, I'm going to be an animator. And she was like, okay. And I was like, no, I'm serious. She's like, all right, you're 10. And then I went into fashion design, its own primordial journey of itself. And then but I got really serious about drawing because of Sailor Moon. And I had the biggest crush on Tuxedo Mask. For years.
Actually, to be honest, please go on. No, I'll say afterwards.
Oh, no, I'm done. I just confess that I love Tuxedo Mask more than I probably should.
Actually, I was pissed off and didn't watch the series because of Tuxedo Mask. I always felt that he was too good for the main character.
Oh, God. jeez. That's a weird
You deserve so much better.
Yeah.
So much better than Sailor Moon.
Well, in defense of the anime, the manga is better. Like 10 times better. The characters are better. The storyline's better. It actually deals with stuff.
There's like 10 times less filler.
Oh, dude, things move so quickly. I had nearly whiplash. I'm like, whoa, sweetie, slow down. People are dying way too quickly. Like people die. Like horribly.
It gets a little dark. It gets dark,
it's really
man.
dark. I'm just like, whoa.
One of my favorite scenes from the manga, because I too was a collector, Sailor Moon manga, and one of my favorite scenes, I can't remember a lot of it. I wish I still had some issues. The artwork was beautiful, but one of my favorite scenes is just after Usagi, Serena, whatever you want to call her. She gets her memories. Yeah, she gets her memories back about being the Moon Princess and everything. She goes through this little breakdown, and there's this scene where her hair keeps growing, and she keeps on trying to cut off the buns because it was so representative of her time as a princess. But her hair keeps growing back, and she's like crying, like, I don't know, I can't. It won't stop growing.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
no, it was a beautiful scene, and then they all come around, they do her hair, and it's just gorgeous. They recently reprinted them all, and I collected every volume.
Really?
So I now have every volume, and now I'm collecting all the Pop Funko of Sailor Moon to the point where now it's just monopolized my shelf, my window, and I now have to find a new place for my plants.
Take them out
on the street.
This really cute. I had to get it. I got this really cute Queen Beryl Pop Funko as well. And her hair is it's just going insane. I love it. Oh, I'm such a fangirl.
We're regressing back, I think, because I'm regressing back into my Dragon Ball Z love phase. Because that was my main thing. I watched Sailor Moon, but Dragon Ball Z was my main thing. And in my earlier art, I don't think I have any of it up on DeviantArt. It was pretty much washed. It was mostly washed out of my style by then. But Akira Toriyama is who I really tried to emulate a lot in the early days, and it ended up in some of the most ugly characters I've ever made in my fucking life. But it's still near and dear, and so I don't know. Maybe after you come so far in your journey, you just can't help but look back at fondness of those types of things, and then you start to remember the feelings that it brought back, the nostalgia and whatnot. And you're just like, oh, I want more of that, and
so I have to ask this. Were you in the kind of Vegeta camp, or were you in the Goku
I was full
camp?
on Vegeta, man. I'm still full on Vegeta. I love Goku as a character because he's just a funny character. I do, but Vegeta forever. I've been thinking about getting a Vegeta tattoo just because it's been years, and just a little saying on my shoulder. I'm like, yeah, I need a little extra power charge. What do you say, Vegeta? He'll be like, fuck off. I'm like, yeah.
Jeez, I love the way he called Goku Kakarot all the time. Nobody in the whole thing called him Kakarot.
And that really confused me when I first saw it. I'm like, I thought his name was. I was also very young at the time. Like, is this guy's Goku? What the fuck? Who is he talking to? And the guy that I had a huge crush on. This is back when I was in year 5, so I would have been about 11. And I had this huge crush on this guy, and because we shared the same dog, we both had the same dog, so that's where it all began.
That's how a lot of anime start off. That's where the anime beginning.
Yeah. So I had this huge crush on this guy, and he loved Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, you know what? I'm invested. I'm gonna learn what I can about Dragon Ball Z. And I watched it, and I was like, I do not get the appeal. I think his impossible inkling of an interest kind of died the day I came in and went, Dragon Ball Z isn't as great as you think it is.
Oh, jeez.
Killed it. Killed the romance.
That's not the best way.
I actually wish now I wish I actually had gotten Dragon Ball Z because I really was a Rooney Kenshin girl. That's how I got into anime in the first place, and I could never get into Dragon Ball Z because I was always very much into redheads with swords at the time. So
Kenshin was another Bishi, man.
No.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah, totally. But the allure about this guy that I really liked, three things that I really liked.
Let me list
The
that
first
way.
thing was acknowledged that he was a busy in the actual work. Like people were always mistaking him for a woman in the beginning on purpose, and they always seemed to slight him because they thought that he was very effeminate until he of course got his sword out in a normal way, not in the other way. So he actually had to prove himself again, exactly because his looks were holding him back more than promoting him, and I really liked that.
But
of course, it didn't help that he was very beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that, like a lot of Kenshin's character came from the fact that people consistently underestimated him.
Yes. Which was something like that really appealed to me, and that he actually liked allowing people to underestimate him and be very, very low tone, although he was basically a superhuman person with his magical sword style that could floor everybody. And cut huge boulders in two and stuff like that.
They always do that.
I really like that. And the other thing that I liked was his approach that he wanted to complete the penance, and that he always acted in reference to his past. It was very, very visceral, and it carried on until the end. And like you said about Sailor Moon, in the manga, it's actually much better than the anime. And it gets dark, especially towards the third arc, where you get, people impaled, killed off, and tortured, and
oh my God,
things like that.
Oh yeah, it gets really intense. Yeah.
Yes. I had this entire series. But my house was broken into and they actually stole it. So yes.
What?
So now I don't have it. Yeah. They took all my comic books along with other things, but they took the comic books as well. So
most horrendous of crimes.
We can tell the dead bits.
That's freaky. They're probably from the Negaverse, Tans.
The bad, the darkest timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh now, but at the time when that happened, I actually felt almost murderous because a lot of these things have been
so devastated if someone took all my Sailor Moon, because that was like, it took me a while to get it.
Exactly.
I'd be like,
exactly. And I had, aside Rurouni Kenshin, I also had something like 2 or 3 more series complete. Like I had all of Tenten, all of Lucky Luke, all of Asterix, and all of a series of Greek pulp fiction that was extremely hard to find because it is out of print. All of it gone. Nothing. I don't have any of it.
So did you try to emulate the Kenshin style at all when your earlier days, or like any of those styles? Yeah.
Of course, the long hair, lots of swords, the layout, of super dramatic angles and the extreme and the warrior look, especially that I got, especially when he was getting these very small pupils.
Yes.
In these huge eyes. when he gets okay, now is the time that he's going to go and cut some throats.
Yeah, this is where shit gets real, guys. That's my serious face.
Exactly.
Look at how my people's are.
I started off with that, and I also tried to understand what he was wearing. Like, was it a skirt? Was it trousers? What the hell was that?
She is Greek. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but ours doesn't camouflage itself as a weird thing that is everything. Like it's only a skirt. Like it's a skirt.
It's a mini skirt too. So
exactly.
I feel like
unless you have run.
I feel like skirts at this stage are unisex. I feel like everyone should be allowed to wear a skirt. They're comfortable.
Absolutely.
Yes,
it's not even that far from a kilt, I saw this this punk show the other day, and there was this dude on stage in a kilt and a flat top, and he looked like he'd fuck you up if you gave him a reason to.
Dude, it's just one giant pant leg.
One single pant leg.
It is. You're right.
Exactly. It's unisex.
It's a uni leg.
Yeah. Actually, the turn of the century over here, the people were very much sticking to their guns about their skirts because they didn't like the Franks and their wishy-washy ways that always they came across as more feminine, actually. So the one that was wearing pants was the one that was asking to be called a sissy.
Oh.
So it took until after the Balkan Wars for people to
real men take the breed.
Exactly.
Real men fill the draft.
Exactly.
Well, what about Oz and Baines then? Did you guys try to emulate when you started out?
Okay, well,
they've been suspiciously quiet.
I've had a look through my.
This has been very educational. I've been enjoying.
My Primordial Pinky stuff is pretty much, I already was, that's not my earliest drawings though. That's just the earliest ones of Pinky. But say my earlier drawings, my women had, great big boobs and very badly proportioned and tiny little waists and wide hips and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know what that was based on. I think I tried to draw Superwoman or Wonder Woman, those kind of characters. And I can't, this is too far back. I can't really think. It's trying to base, Gem and the Holograms, Gem, if you've ever seen that cartoon, that fantastic feather
I just
cut
put it on
hair.
yesterday. Yeah.
Trying to get hairstyles like that on my characters. I'm sure that was an influence on Pinky. It really was, that fantastic fairy floss hair that she had.
Very 80s.
Yeah, very, very 80s. So, I think my stuff was that. And, just big boobs. Because as you're a boy, you don't really know how to draw them. And then you just...
So that's where you go straight to the boobs.
Exactly.
There's circles. That's easy to draw.
Yeah. I would do the same, not often, but I remember a friend of my stepdad's looking at something I was drawing one time and commenting how well endowed the character was. And I didn't even realize, but it was, it's like superhero comics. And
that's the thing.
Marvel comics. And, very.
You look at it and you don't actually realize how big they are. You don't realize, my God, this is just deformed.
This is not practical.
You look at it and think, that's too small. I just got to increase this another, 2 sizes. That has to be 3 times as big.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's not just the women that happened to. Like, especially when I was in my Dragon Ball Z drawing days, the pecs on those characters were bigger than the sun.
They were the sun.
Yeah, they were. And the nipples were small moons. And
they were opposite each other.
And of course it transferred into the way I drew my characters because, back then I was drawing strictly from, emulating Akira Toriyama and stuff. And that was before I got into actual anatomy and figure drawing and stuff. So the pecs were just like, boom. And I remember one day I was with one of my friends. He's like, they're not supposed to be that big. I'm like, shut up. You don't know. You don't draw.
He was just envious of the giant pecs.
He was. Go lift, bro.
Yeah. So objectivism happens on both sides of the scale.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Have you guys, that's mostly towards the girls, have you ever been told by someone looking at you drawing a bishop or someone like that men are not like this, and if you keep drawing men like that, you will stay single forever?
Oh, God.
Because that's what I was told.
Wow. Just say it was a stylistic choice.
Actually, people have said that about the, when I was younger and I was drawing the women like that, they said exactly the same thing. So, yeah, men aren't like that, and you'll stay single. No,
you will never have a boyfriend.
Exactly.
I don't think that I ever had. I don't think anyone ever told me if you keep drawing like that, you'll be forever alone.
Something crazy.
Actually, I think I won over my current partner with a drawing. I like to think I did. It did something. So this is when we were still friends, and I had huge, big, major crush on him again, and I didn't quite know how to go about telling him this. Instead, I did this huge. We still have it here. It's like this huge, big drawing. I think it's like right behind the computer, but I don't want to reach over. This huge, big drawing of Bruce Lee's face. This giant drawing. Actually, I'll try and get it. Hang on. You won't be able to. Oh no, because you can't see it on the Quackcast anyway. But yeah, it's this giant, huge, big, giant face, and he opens it up, and I was so nervous about this that I also got a CD. I was like, if he doesn't like the picture, at least he's got a CD. So he's just like unfurling the scroll of an illustration, and I found out later that he really liked it. But I thought at the time he was just like, I really just don't know what to do with this. And now I have to walk around the city with a giant face of Bruce Lee.
Got him.
Yeah. Right for the man.
See, that's the good kind of crazy though, because it's all up front, and he knew what he was getting into. He's like, all right.
She's the
terms are laid out.
She's a bit special. Yeah. Oh my God, that guy. I don't know. I don't even know how I ended up in a relationship, because like I think about all the crazy shit that I did, and he was just like, okay, cool. Wow, man.
That's amazing, though, man. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, he's crazy too. It just took a bit longer for me to find out. He was better at being normal than I was.
But then you found the bodies under the floorboard, and
open skeletons and be like, okay, I got the Bruce Lee picture. He's got the skeletons. We've got this. We can do life.
Oh, geez, the primordial drawings of a relationship. That took a turn I didn't expect. Jesus.
I wish I just said that.
Although, if I go back to my very first character that I ever made, it started the whole damned mess. Was actually, this is dating myself, whatever. Because it's so indicative of the early 90s, of the late 80s, early 90s, that it's laughable. But it was like this, oh God, this guy, Commando Jack, and he was basically, he wore a camouflaged army shirt, and he had dog tags, and then he had like a blonde bowl cut. Like, for some reason, like I don't know. I guess I was
hairstyles.
Right. I mean, if it worked for Mo Howard, I guess it worked for anybody, right? But then he had, of course, like the headband that every like commando guy from the 80s needs to have.
Was this in the actual forum?
Yeah.
Like, did you post a picture of that? Because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that's him. That's him. Yeah. You see the difference because I had him for a while, and I stopped, and then Bishi, the Bishi Bones. That wasn't his name. He was like some Japanese knockoff name that didn't make any sense.
I think from here I can read Akasufu.
Akasuru. Fuck's sake! You made me say it out loud. You made me say it twice more. It's gonna come on the cast, and we're all done for. So I'll fall into a pit of embarrassment and never emerge again. But halfway there. If we want to go full cringe, before he was Akasuru, I stole the name of some obscure Egyptian pharaoh named Rajadef, and it was the perfect Bishi name, I guess, for whatever reason. That was before Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that shit. I never got it.
Oh, Jesus.
So you got in on the Egyptian craze before everyone else did.
I did. I was the forerunner, and then so it was Commando Jack, and then the Bishi, and then it started to get a little bit more thrashier from there. Thank God. But, I don't know.
Yeah, that version with the shaved on the side, that's pretty hardcore, that one. That went all the way the other way.
That did. Like, the color palette was like blaring, like neon greens and oranges, and then and he's always sneering, and Bones is always sneering anyway, but then he got a full head of hair, so you can't see half of it, and he got some skin tone on too. So,
yeah, Bones went back to being human again.
He was human for the very first time. I think that was the first proper. Well, as human as he's going to be anyway. But,
it's like, you went right far one way, and then you sort of bounce back slightly. Just reeled it back again.
Yeah, reeled it in a little bit, little bit. You know, the candle that burns brightest is the one that goes out the quickest, or whatever they say. Which brings another question, actually. So there we have the final version of Bones, and unlike those other versions, through the years, because I've stuck with that one for more than 10 years now, and that was the end of it. I never went back and forth on character designs anymore or anything. It was I'd say a definite aha moment when I got him down and I stopped questioning. So did you guys? So with the characters that you have as they are now, did you have an aha moment? Did you have an accident? Did you have an aha moment, or was it something gradual, or do you still think about changing them in some fundamental ways?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, actually, through Issue 0, I was still trying to get a handle on how Marcel and Wainwright looked, and I really don't think I got that until like halfway through. Drawing them, because again with the lack of planning, I'm like the complete opposite of Oz, where like he plans every meticulous detail and I just completely wing everything.
Yeah, me too.
So, I'm like halfway through it and I finally worked it out. I was like, oh no, I think they should have this nose, and because I feel the characters through the dialogue and how their mannerisms are, and like they're very clear in my head, but that doesn't always translate to the page. I like to think I'm a bit more consistent now, but at that, when I was drawing them, it probably didn't take until near the end of their story at that time that I actually worked out what they look like. And then at that stage, I was like, well, that kind of concludes. I don't want to give too much away, but like it concludes that side of their story for now. And I was like, well, that was really annoying because I just got their look down. And now I have to pick up like 6 other characters and try and do that again.
Oh, jeez. The aha moment with Pinky. That's interesting. I don't know where that came about. I think she just gradually evolved. Because I was coming up with all these weird versions of her in my initial stages. And then when she just got on the page, she became something quite different. Actually, no. I know where it would have come from. I did this years ago. Oh my god, years and years ago. I did this sketch of this model, Babette. She was called because she was the one that this particular artist would always pick. He was our lecturer back when I was doing drawing years ago at Claremont School of Art, and he would always pick Babette. And we would call her Boobette because she had great big boobs. And I think that's probably why
that's such a great name, man. It's
natural progression.
Yeah.
So, but she had this beautiful, like, Italian nose that was, sort of just kinked out in a great angle. And I did this drawing of her just from a profile. And that sort of sat in my portfolio for years and years. And then when I was going and doing my paintings of Pinky, I pulled this picture out and I thought, I just alter this drawing, and I just, so it's like a nude sketch but you can't really see anything, and I just altered it and gave her a Pinky hairstyle and everything and the Pinky ears, and I thought, that's the look. I want Pinky to be like this. This is really cool. This is groovy. And after
lightning
that,
struck.
Exactly. Yeah, I did a painting.
So I can't imagine her not like that now. Like when you show us, you were showing us pictures that you had made of Pinky before, she had those very distinguished features, and it does look like just such a different character.
Yeah. She's like, I was experimenting with making her Asian, and I was really set on that because I couldn't do a manga version. So I couldn't draw that way, so I thought I'd just make her Asian instead. My heart was set on that. I studied trying to get the nose right, trying to get the lips, trying to get the eyes and everything, not making it stereotypical or racist, trying to just do a proper version. And yeah, just for some reason, it changed. And she became this Slavic kind of looking lady. And yeah. It was a weird progression from that to this. She totally changed. What about, like, have you guys got
the main one I remember is I drew the characters sort of sporadically, and I was mostly working on writing for years before I did my animations, and then eventually did the webcomic, at which point I knew the characters really well. But visually, Penelope is the main one I remember. She's a great big tall lady, and always was. But after my first animation, I think, which took, as I was learning the software and blah, 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 took a super long time, and I was drawing her quite a bit, I changed her. She originally wore big horn-rimmed glasses. Her hair was shorter, and I drew her freckles differently, and she had lips. You could see the sort of lipstick/lips.
Oh.
When I gave her, like, the more anime mouth, took away the glasses, and changed the freckles the way I did them, that it changed her so much. It like really softened her look. And I was like, that's it. That's her. Yeah. That's the main one I remember. The rest kind of took a couple of the other ones I'm still kind of figuring out 5 years later. Yeah.
Like what kind of aspects? I mean, if you can recall, unless that's too, I know that's kind of like a weird, like, you don't think about them unless, like, something is making you think about that particular thing. So that's a
TK has the receding hairline, like, and the glasses and the crease in his forehead and the little whatever on the side of his mouth, little dimples or whatever. He's stayed fairly consistent. I think he's gotten kind of thinner as the series goes on. So he's got all of those identifying features. Abigail has the big glasses and the dark hair and everything. She's stayed fairly consistent, I think. Although I took her lipstick away too. And I liked what that did for her.
No, lipstick for you.
No, yeah, she hates me. Still hates me for that. Yeah.
You hussy.
The toughest ones have been Oscar and Harley. Like, there's just sort of the blonde, generically pretty girl and the kind of slacker-looking guy. And they kind of, I don't know. They're tougher to get a handle on. I mean, Oscar's got the kind of bags under his eyes. That keeps him kind of identifiable.
Yeah,
but they're the trickier ones. Yeah. It makes them tougher to get a firm handle on, I found.
Yeah.
Like, what is Harley other than a stereotypically pretty blonde? Not totally sure, although once in a while I'll see a girl out in the world and say, that's what she should look like.
That's the one.
Nothing's really stuck permanently. And then I ask her out and she says no. I'm like, well, forget it. I'm not basing character on you.
Oh, jeez.
I mean it to be creepy, but
yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. If you don't feel like you've hit that perfect spot with the character, like the way, like it's challenging then because you feel like they're not fully formed in some way, and that it can be so enervating when you have to write that character, can it? Like, it makes you second guess a lot of things. Like, I've been drawing a lot of Blitzoff lately, and I've got the scene back with the doctor again, the weird little doctor guy. And when I look back at the pages, it's fine, but there's nothing about this character in particular that marks him out to me in some big way to make me say, like, yes, I know him. Like, I get this character by looking at him. Like he's skivvy, yeah. He's creepy looking, but that's about the extent of what he is. So I have a hard time when I draw him.
There's like no defining feature that's like that's him. So like if I changed everything else, this would be the feature that would indicate that that's that character.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I tried to make some things look special or different, but they're traits that some of my other characters have had in the past, so they still don't feel special.
Unique.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. I think the best way is to base it off real people.
Well, this what I did. Yeah. I just didn't make it. I actually based him off of this doctor that I love. He might not like it if I made this character off of him, but he's the founder of Body Worlds, and he's this real creepy looking dude. And I fucking love him. Dr. Gunther von Hagens, and I love him, man. I absolutely adore him. And part of me wants to send him a letter. Yeah, man. Like, he's weird looking, but and part of me wants to send him this drawing, and be like, "Look, I made you," but like, I don't think he'd look at it.
No, I honestly think that he deliberately goes for that look. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's plasticizing dead bodies, and he knows he's in the world of Vincent Price. And he
but part of it's just his face, just the way he looks, though, naturally as a human being.
The thing is,
I love him.
Often people
so cool.
will like, they'll realize what they're doing, and they'll realize, oh yeah, that has this sort of cliche. I'm just gonna own the look. I'm gonna own that because he has that very ascetic, extra thin, there's almost no muscle on his face sort of look, and you can imagine him.
And that grim black hat and
yeah. He enjoys that smile.
Oh, yes.
He's glad to see you or glad to see your body.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. He's definitely eyeing that, going,
Yeah.
There's this one. Dissect that one.
There's this one clip of him that you summed it up perfectly. There's this one special that he did because he's done a lot of shows like Autopsy and stuff like that. He's very much an advocate for it's up to people what they want to see and experience. And he did this, I think it was in about 2003 or so. He gave an address, like a Christmas address one of like the British channels did every year or something like that. And he was the one to give it. And it was so good because, you know, he's in his address, he was talking about, you know, just what I was talking about. It's up to you what you want to see and stuff like that. But the setting of it is there's this table and it looks like there's a person under that table draped over in a cloth. And he says something magnificently maniacal, like, oh my God, like, is he actually going to show a dead body on Christmas? You know, and he pulls back the...
Just after the Queen's address.
Right. And he pulls back the sheet over the table, and it's this whole feast. And he's got this, for a split second, he's got this smile on his face. He's like he flashes his teeth a little bit, like, what do you think? And then it gets so disturbing in a sense, though, because he gives this great talk, and then he goes something like, yeah, it's time to carve the turkey or whatever. And he takes these medical instruments and starts cutting into the turkey, and his face is just like stoked. Like, he looks like he's just actually cutting into somebody, and I'm just like, you can't do that. I love it.
like Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Brilliant. Oh my God.
Oh.
How have I not seen this?
He was probably very well aware of what he was doing. Very well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. He's dying, though, unfortunately, so we have to get our fill of him if we can.
I didn't realize he passed away.
No, he's died. I don't think he's died yet. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I might have misheard you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happens to a lot of these guys that work in preservation and stuff like that with those chemicals. They end up developing things like Parkinson's and stuff like that. And so he's got some form of that. That's he's only got a couple of years left to live, I think. So.
Oh, wow. It's the formaldehyde for you. It's not good.
Yeah. No bueno. So comics. Sorry. I'm totally fangirl.
So you have, I've been listening to how you guys develop your characters, and I feel that you have always gone through a more visceral, using instinct more than a cerebral method. Yeah, because that's totally what I didn't do. Because
I've asked me what I thought you did. You're the type of person that does the opposite. You're very rational and pragmatic about the way that you're a writer first and foremost. So, I mean, you have to
a different brain.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that it's just I like to construct a lot of things in a sneaky manner, like hide little tiny things that I know that most likely nobody is going to ever even bother, let alone discover. But I remember a while, especially for Without Moonlight, as I was researching the background and I had to know and everything about resistance and blah, 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 this whole thing. Characters, like avatars of 2 or 3 different people. So a lot of things that I penned down, there's even before I made the very first sense. Like, for example, Fotis always had and always will have curly hair. And that is because it's a connection back to one resistance song about young kids in curly hair that are what even adults shouldn't be fun. So I usually made these different for every character more in a sense of design, like a strategic design, than aesthetically or visceral. But what I did did do more, like what came easier to me to design and felt better and everything was after I had this, knew that I had to employ, then the way that they meshed together went after like filling a couple of pages with. And I usually, pick one feature to be specific to each and every character. Like Orestes has this nose that is slightly broken because someone punched him. And
bastard figures.
Or, for example, Fotis has these big eyes that are supposed to be like these huge, innocent baby's eyes that will never be very innocent anymore. But the actual design of the character came before I even put pen to paper. It's how that sounds.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's really cool to hear that, actually. Yeah. And it makes sense for... It's a really clear idea of your characters and stuff, like the key things that make them stick out. Because I remember when we started working on Brave Resistance and you sent me character descriptions and stuff like that, they were just so clear to envision. So maybe that's maybe because it is less visceral for you, you get that more complete round up. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes more sense.
I really don't know. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's more that because of exposure to all this research and you see all these faces in the old photographs of all sorts of different people, hundreds of people in these historical photographs. And then when you come to create people that okay, this person is going to represent this and this other person is going to represent something else, more or less a set of parameters. Like, okay, if they are going to represent this particular section of people, let's say, or category of people or whatever, they have to look at least like this and have this and this and that feature. So
I think things...
I think that's more that.
Well, I don't think that in itself is that different than what people on the other side of the fence do, though, because what it comes down to is you have this slot to fill for a character. You have this position to fill. And once you get it in your brain that, all right, I want to fill this position, then your brain kind of starts to compile, I don't want to say stereotypical, but what's stereotypical to your brain of what that person is.
Preconception. Maybe.
So I think along that's the same. Yeah. So there's that. But then there's the other way of making characters too, like where you don't necessarily have a position to fill. And you think this character comes to you, but you don't really have a place for them. And so do you guys have do you guys have like a store of characters like hanging up in your closet for you to use that are just
many. So many. I went to my writer friend the other day and I said to her, oh my God, I had this new idea for a webcomic. And she heard me out. She's very patient. God love her. But she said, that's an excellent idea and those are excellent characters and we would definitely use them. But let's finish this thing first. We're leaping into a new project. So I was like, I get really frustrated with the amount of romance titles that we have to compete with on some of the bigger sites, which are not as diverse as Drunk Duck. And Webtoons frustrate me so much because they lump sci-fi in with romance. And I'm just like, there's just not a connect there.
Barbarians.
Oh, it's so hard to compete in that space. Get your genres right. I could go on a rant on that one for days. So I wanted to make this subversive webcomic where, like, because the current trend at the moment, and this is just keeps doing the rounds, where you have the girl falling in love with like a pet that turns out to be human.
Oh God, really?
Cats at the moment. It's terrifying. It terrifies me. I love cats, but not that much.
No.
It's just something really. Yeah, it's very anime. It's very big at the moment. And I came to her with this pitch and these characters where we would subvert the whole, like, we get this following and they think like they're going on this really romantic romp with this girl who falls in love with her pet, and then we just like kick them where it really hurts and be like, we're subverting the genre, and it turns into a creepypasta. And she's like, whoa. Slow down.
Oh God, yeah, it's like a girl who has a crush on an actual real pet.
Well, I don't know. I just wanted to. I just came to her with like a couple of characters and just like, yeah, let's do this. Just like, yeah, let's not do it right now. Our plan's pretty full right now.
Let's let it ferment a little bit.
Yeah, let's give that 10 years, shall we?
10 years.
She's good at keeping me focused and very, very, as you said, like that whole idea of starting a new webcomic and it being really new and shiny all the time. Yeah. Just a cast of characters I have so many plans for. In fact, I renamed one of the characters in that's coming up, that will be introduced coming up in Constellation Chronicle, because I was like, no, that name belongs to a different character I'm going to use later, so we're going to completely rename her. And she was like, all right, she's got a new name now. So yeah, like that name is associated with another character, and it's like, oh, I don't want to use it right now, because if I do use it again, everyone will think I'm got a fetish with this name.
Which you do.
Yeah. See, I know just what you mean, though. I'm going through the same thing. Tanya has been witness to this, and this character that I have mulling around that eventually I'd like to make a story for him. But there are several problems in making a story for him right now. First being that I just don't have the fucking time. We got Blitz off. There's I want to pick Brave Resistance back up and all this stuff. I want to finish what's on my plate first. But there's this character, and I actually came up with him off of a bunch of MMOs I used to play. He's like this compilation of characters that I made, and which is usually trouble, but I've kind of boiled it down to something okay. And so like he's this knight character, but I don't want him to be like a stereotypical knight, but I don't want to I have this story that I wanted to set him in, but the thing is there's three problems wrong. So he's the knight, and I've already kind of got that covered with Blitzoff. He's not a knight per se, but if I want to do something different with that kind of image, Blitzoff is already there. Yeah. Secondly, looks wise, he actually looks a lot like Exus, just this blonde guy. And so yeah, that goes into, I have a thing. There's obviously a thing happening where I have these characters that look like this, and they're all coming out of the same factory or something. I could see him being different though in the way that he carries himself and imposes himself. So I'm not that worried about it. And then his name, I was in my Germanic studies at the time, so I gave him a very Germanic old name, Helmut. And it does not fit with the knight thing I want to do at all. And so like, then I have to change his name. And it sounds like such a little thing. Like, all right, change his name. But there's nothing else. I've got the name so stuck to that character. It does. And I'm so stuck, man.
Yeah, no, like, and I, talking about the hair color thing as well, like, I've had to actively tell myself, you cannot create every character with red hair. And it's just like, it's like, I have a type. You need to stop.
Gotta resist the type, man. Then you're like, I can put a beard on him or something. They're like, no, I don't want to put a beard on. That's not how I see him. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
red haired, he's beautiful.
Leave him alone.
Just like the rest.
Oh God.
The way I think about it is, most of the human race has black hair or brown hair, so that's my default colors for characters. So they should either have black hair. And some can have blonde or some can have red, but the default is always going to be black because that's what most people have. So that's the way I think about it. To avoid.
But I think that works in the other way too, because if that's the default.
No, go.
What was that, Tanj? Oh, no, I was just going to say it kind of works the other way too, though, because if
oh, legs a bitch.
Yeah, the leg's pretty bad tonight. If you have those default colors, like, then I think that naturally becomes what you usually don't use for your main people that you want to draw attention to. I mean, look, your main person has bright pink hair. Like, you don't subscribe to that, you know? I mean, not contrast. Fully, I don't mean.
True.
Yeah, while the people working under her do have more the hair tones that you were talking about, you know, so that's very much an indicator of the protagonist hair.
I try to have like hair color diversity. Try and be like, okay, what color haven't I used yet?
Or you get like the manga or anime thing where the greens and the blues and everything else is natural choices. I mean, I can't talk. I got but you know, I always wonder about that.
There's that one meme.
What's that?
Go ahead.
I always wonder about that in anime. I mean, you know, is this hair natural in this world, or you know, what does this character dye the hair? What?
It just exists.
It's natural protagonist hair, guy. It's natural protagonist hair. Like, they are born being the one because they have blue hair or pink, or their eyes are amethyst, or some sort of color.
It marks them as being special.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They are a unicorn.
That was really bad back in the 90s, man, in the 80s and 90s. That shit was rampant. Like a main character would have like spiky blue hair and one red eye and one purple magenta eye and like Yu-Gi-Oh crosses. It was so fucking bad, dude.
Oh, it's so bad. He had 3 colors in his hair. You know, he had everything.
That was fucking out of control. It was out of control.
He even had like 2 different voices as well, so it wasn't enough that he had the protagonist hair, the protagonist eyes, the protagonist storyline. He had like 2 protagonist voices.
So he had like grown up voice that he get, like the like where the fuck is this coming from?
The Pharaoh voice. Oh god.
It's like, wow, that is the most extreme voice breaking I have ever heard.
That was impressive. My blue eyes white dragon. Oh god, that character.
He was a Egyptian young Batman. That's why when he got into the mood.
Yeah, he was.
Oh,
it was hilariously bad. It was an anime that looked like it had been done by a 13-year-old. It really was.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. It was the fact that like a committee of toy designers went to a 13-year-old and said to them, "What looks cool these days? What do the youths like?"
Yes. Spiky hair, massive gold jewelry, huge chains around the neck.
It's like the creators of Transformers went to a focus group of 10-year-olds and said, "What do you like?"
Oh, jeez. Well, I'm sorry, but we'll have to wind down towards the end. We've got an hour and a half out for this Quackcast.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Extra big one.
Don't stop, man. We don't stop.
Yeah, I decided that we should let it naturally continue because we were going some good areas, some good places, some
plunging deep into the hole.
Exactly. Spelunking.
Yeah.
We went deep down, and it was fun.
Oh.
We found some fossils. We proved evolution right in this Quackcast.
Yeah.
Take that, Ken Ham. You loser.
Oh, God, special.
All right, well, thank you guys for being part of the Primordial Quackcast. This has been fantastic and interesting. Yeah, excellent, Emma. Brilliant.
Well, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Thanks
interesting.
for joining us. Great to have you back sometime.
Yeah.
I would love to. This is first for me. I've never been on a podcast. So
Wow. And especially at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.
It's now 5. And I've got to publish an episode in 2 hours. So I think today they just get it early.
Oh my God.
I'm not waking up in 2 hours to press that button.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.